What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Amateurs Podcast. For today's episode, we're doing a familiar subject. We're going to be ranking the top 10 freshmen in college basketball as we get into conference play. So this is going to be based on the first half of the season. We're going to go 10 to 1. Mike, you going to throw a couple honorable mentions in there?
I am. I'll start there.
Yeah. All right. Anything to say before we get right into it?
Also, remember, this is how they've played this season, not the draft order, because there's a huge difference. Nobody had Carter Bryant as a top freshman last year, but he was a lottery pick.
Yeah, this is not a big board mock draft. This is top 10 college basketball freshmen, how they're playing in college basketball.
Right.
All right, you can start with your honorable mentions.
3 honorable mentions. Joel Foxwell, little under the radar, is leading freshman in assists, very high nationally. Joel plays at Portland. He's from Australia. He's also shooting the heck out of the ball. High 40s. I think a guy who's going to be in your top 10, and maybe if I had seen one more game before I did this list, the kid from Stanford, Okori, is just a lights out scorer, but he has had some inconsistent games. And, again, if I'd seen his last game, I might have moved him in there. And the last guy is Theis DeRitter, for Virginia, is averaging 17 and 6. I think he's going to be a high draft prospect. He's had a real nice season.
All right, so let's get into it. Who's your number 10?
My number 10 is the kid from Baylor, Yesefu.
Tunde Yesefu?
Yeah. He's averaging about 19 points, very high steal rate. Without him, it's safe to say Baylor would be even less relevant than they are. He's delivered. I mean, that's what they brought him in to do, and he's done it.
Yeah, I mean, he's an interesting prospect. Definitely will be drafted pretty high this year. The 3-point percentage in terms of his future, something to monitor, but he's pretty productive, and he's a big physical guard. A lot of people compare him, the way he moves, to Anthony Edwards. Definitely pre-jump shot Anthony Edwards, but great player. And you were right, my number 10 is going to be Ebuka Okori from Stanford. He's averaging 22 points per game, which is good for 8th in the nation. Efficiency isn't great, but he is Stanford's their guy, so he's going to have to shoot take a lot of the load offensively. And he just had in their big win, their marquee signature win against Louisville, he had 28 points on 50% shooting, 40% from 3. That's just a big time performance, and he's a big time player. Very under the radar, which is surprising considering he's a 22 point per game scorer in the Power 5. It's just Stanford doesn't have that basketball brand. But I think this guy should get way more love. He's a 6'2" guard from New Hampshire, so he's kind of been a small, medium market guy his whole life. But yeah, great player. Number 9.
So I flip-flopped. I have Mikel Brown here. Brown, based on what he has done so far, has had a wonderful year. He and Conwell provide Louisville with that, two-headed attack. Handles the ball fantastic, shoots it decently, high score. This is a kid who's going to excel at the next level. Why he's dinged and he's here is availability. He's been hurt the last few games, and it's hurt Louisville significantly. But if he were on the floor, he'd be much higher.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's only played 10 out of their 15 games, and I think he's missed the last 5. And you can clearly see they're a completely different team without him on the floor. I have him on my list at some point, so I'm going to keep some of those thoughts to myself until we get to there, but great player. Number 9 for me, it's Mikel Brown. I thought he was a little higher. Mikel Brown. I mean, assist man, points, the main question is obviously his efficiency, but I'd followed him since he was a freshman in high school. He grew like a little 5'8" freshman, and he could always shoot the heck out of the ball. So I think this won't follow him for too long. The 28 or 27% 3-point percentage, I don't think that's a main concern. Like you said, great handles, and he changes the entire dynamic for Louisville as they've struggled their last 5 games. They dropped one. Stanford just lost to Duke. Great player.
Yeah, with him, they're a title contender. Without him,
he's kind of their engine.
Yeah.
I mean, Pat Kelsey definitely relied on him to be his point guard.
Yep.
Because they don't really have a solid backup.
No.
All right, number 8, who you got?
You're going to disagree here. Nate Ament, the kid from Tennessee. Let's just put this to bed. He's very inefficient, but every year Rick Barnes has brought in a scorer. He's not in the class of Connect or Lanier in terms of production, but without him, Tennessee would be really, really hurt. He came in to do a job. He's done the job. Yes, he's regressed a little bit. Yes, I'm not on the Almet train, but I think he's done what Barnes wanted. And in those rock fights, if you don't have a go-to scorer, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about his efficiency a couple times now. He's not on my list. I just think, obviously, he has put on some weight since high school, but he just still needs to put on weight. ESPN has him as 6'10", 207, and that's not heavy enough or big enough. Like, if you watch him play, he gets blocked quite a bit, and at 6'10", that should never be the case. And his efficiency, especially against Power 5 opponents, I can't put him on my list. I know a lot of people coming into the season, Rivals or 247 or one of those big names, moved him to number one in the class, like for the last update when he hadn't even been number one ever in his life. Which is really it's engagement baiting at that point.
Yeah.
But I think there's potential, obviously, but a lot of names people are calling this kid in terms of NBA comps, I think, are way far stretched. I think he's gonna declare, but I think he should almost stay a year because he's not ready for the next level physically. Number 8 for me is going to be Braden Burries from Arizona. I had to decide between Koa Pete and Braden Burries because Koa Pete, especially I watched the Arizona game where he just dominated Florida. But ever since then, tides have kind of switched. Braden Burries has been their guy. He's their second leading scorer, 0.2 behind Koa Pete. But what's interesting is through his first 5 games, he was only averaging, I think, 7 a game, which means the last 10 he's been unbelievable because he's averaging 14.
Yeah.
He's very efficient. 3-pointers, average, but he's got good size, a good NBA frame, and he's the second leading scorer by 0.2 on the number 1 team in the nation. So I think you got to give him his flowers there.
Yeah, I kind of debated putting an Arizona guy on there, and I think they kind of split the vote for me. I think the MVP on that team has been Hardy. He's just blown out what he's done in the past. He's the adult in the room.
You said Bradley?
Bradley, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Bradley. Yeah, Bradley. He's been the adult in the room, and without him, I think they don't have a chance.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's been great. I just wanted to give Braden Burries some love there. So we're moving on to 7 here?
7, and this is not on performances. It's Darren Peterson. If it was strictly on what he's done on the court, he would be no worse than 3rd. Let's just be candid. And that's probably going to be his draft status, no worse than 3rd. He's a lights out scorer at many levels. One of the better 3-point shooters in the country. He shoots a high volume. The problem is he has been unavailable. And even in games when he's available, he's unavailable. Kansas has had to work around that, getting a huge performance from Melvin Council Jr. But I think there has to be some worry from the NBA over his hamstrings. It's something Curry had the ankle issue early in his career. Maybe this is an equivalent. I'm not comparing the two, but when he's on the court, lights out.
Yeah, I have him definitely higher on my list just because of how good he is. But yeah, the hamstrings, soft tissue stuff, and I mean, Kansas fans, I've seen them all over social media complaining about it. But it's tough. I mean, if you're hurt, you can't go. And I understand, like, asking out during the middle of a play, I can understand why the fans would get upset at that. And the rumors of his family, trying to shut him down or whatever. But I mean, he's just an unreal scorer. But I'll touch on him a little bit more later on. Pause. Number 7, I have Hans Steinbach from Washington, the German freshman. He's averaging 18 and 12, which is 12 rebounds, second in the country, shooting almost 60% from the field, 40% from three, obviously on a little bit
Low
lower volume.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's a pro. He's very skilled. You know, he comes in with that European stereotype, but he's very skilled. Washington hasn't exactly been as good as we kind of thought they were going to be. He's also been a little bit hampered by injuries this year. He's missed about 4 games, but great play.
Yeah, he's my number 6.
Oh, so he's 6.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be kind of like that's going in.
Yeah, Kingston Flemings is my number 6. This kid just had a great performance against Texas Tech, where he hit kind of the dagger, 23 points, 5 assists, and that's kind of been his MO. 5 assists a game, 16 points. Gets 2 steals a game, so he's very active on that defensive end. Kelvin Sampson obviously shoots very efficient, 53.5% from the field, 43% from 3. Got NBA 6'4" point guard size. This kid's good. This kid's really good.
Yeah, no, he's excellent, and I think we're gonna flip flop our 4 and 5 here. I have at 5 Acuff. You could easily say he's the 4, just on production. But it's been a little weird. Early in the season, it was his running mate Malik Thomas who was getting all the shots and publicity. Acuff can run a team. He's gotten Arkansas some very big wins. I'm kind of actually surprised at some of the teams they've beaten because I don't love their roster construction, but fabulous freshman and pretty good shooter. He's shooting 43% from 3, 19 and 6 assists.
Yeah, he's my number 5 as well. Kid's built like a running back as a point guard. He's super strong for a freshman. And like you said, he's just been lights out recently. He just had 29 against Tennessee. That was a big win. Been a 20-point game scorer basically for them. He's their best player. And I overlooked him a little bit coming out of IMG Academy. I didn't know how well his game would translate, but clearly no issues there. So who's your number 4?
Flemings.
Flemings? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see what you're going to do with Darren Peterson. Okay.
Yeah.
No, and my number 4 is Caleb Wilson. Who's been North Carolina's best player. Obviously, there's questions about his non-dunk finishing ability because he's not been the most efficient around the rim in terms of the numbers, but he dunks everything, so that kind of negates a lot of that problem. He's averaging 19 and 11, shooting very efficient, not from 3, but that's not his game. He's only taking 1 a game. 1.5 blocks. He's very active on the defensive end. He's a great motor. That's a big thing for him. And I think for him to be this productive without even having a jump shot is special.
Well, his mid-range is pretty good.
Yeah, he's got a good mid-range.
I had Flemings, just to not leave Flemings for a second, forget about his production for a second, to come into a team that has 2 senior guards, leaders, guys who have been in the program at least a year, but Sharp his whole career, and they went,
You're the guy now. Yeah.
You're the guy. He's a fabulous,
especially for Kelvin Sampson.
Wow.
He never plays freshman, and now he's the freshman-led team. Yeah, especially that's a great point with Sharp.
Yeah,
turning to him,
he's a plus defender, and he's shooting 44%. So from 3, so he's delivered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have anything about Caleb Wilson?
Well, he's my 3rd.
3, yeah.
I've just seen shots out of him that it's like, whoa. Like he had a 360 turnaround.
Yeah.
That was just like, I've never seen that before.
No, his mid-post fadeaway is nice. Too.
Yeah. He's just been huge for North Carolina, and I think he is explosive. That surprises me. There's that criticism.
No. Nobody's saying he's not explosive because his dunk percentage is out of this world.
Yeah.
He dunks so much, but his layups have been surprisingly inefficient for a guy his size and his skill level. Number 3 for me is going to be Darren Peterson. I struggle with it because he's only played 6 games, but after watching the TCU game last night, I don't know if you guys tuned in, he had 32 points, 32 minutes, very efficient. It's unbelievable. I will say one knock on him, he doesn't create for others.
No.
And he's a kind of a point guard. You know, that's kind of what they're looking at him as. Only 2 assists a game, but he frequently has 1 assist. He's 6'6", so I mean prototypical shooting guard size. But if you're going to have him on the ball, he needs to create for others, and that's just something that's not really in his repertoire right now. It's hard to take any knocks against him because of how efficient he. I mean, he's shooting 50% from the field and 43% from three on incredible volume.
Yeah.
Um.
Again, nothing to do with his performance. Performance on the court has been great.
Well, but I'm just saying my one knock against him, and I think no matter if he had if this were her numbers through 14 games, I would still probably have him as third behind my top two guys, just because that one facet of the floor that he's not excelling at. Now, does that mean I think he won't potentially go number one in the NBA draft? No, I think there's a high chance, depending on the team, he goes number one, just because of how deadly he is at scoring the rock. But I do think that is a deficiency in his game. And I mean, defense isn't excellent, but with this Kansas team in particular, he is such a heavy offensive load that you can't expect him to be, their best defender as well.
Yeah, but I don't know who he really has to pass to. There's no.
That's true. That's a good point. That is a good point.
But I agree. It is a question mark there.
But he's one of the best shot makers I've ever seen as a freshman.
Yes.
It's unbelievable, the shots he hits, the level of difficulty, and how efficient he is. There's another one on that list higher up. Who was number 2?
AJ DeBonta.
Okay, so that's the other guy, just an unbelievable shot maker.
Yeah.
He's my number 2 as well.
Yeah.
This is tough because I think he's the number 1 draft pick, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And him and Boozer, because one we have Cameron Boozer.
Yeah.
It's very tough to judge them because they're both averaging 23 points per game. Boozer's gotten in rebounds. DeBance's still at 7, though. I think Boozer has an assist as well because he's such an all-around player. And that's kind of what gave me the edge. Cam Boozer's impact on everything in the game. He's averaging 23, 10, and 4, shooting 58% from the field, 37 from 3, on decent volume for a guy his size. He's just everything for Duke.
Yep. And here's the statement that's going to shock a lot of people. AJ DeBonta has a better supporting cast than Boozer does.
Yeah, you're right.
Boozer is the sole reason that Duke has lost once so far. His floor is awesome. It's the ceiling. That's why, and I think there's very little separating the two.
Yeah.
But I think everybody sees Peterson and AJ. They have probably a higher ceiling because Boozer. It's hard. I struggle with a comp for him.
I don't know what to compare him to because he's not huge. I mean, he's huge, but he's not huge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm getting his measurements right now. He's 6'9", 250, that's a large man. But in terms of a power forward at the next level, 6'9" isn't anything crazy. And he doesn't have the vertical pop that DeBanca I mean, we haven't seen it from Peterson, but he doesn't have the vertical pop there.
No. Ground-bound Aaron Gordon.
But he's way better than Aaron.
Yeah, I mean,
Aaron Gordon's a great player, but in terms of collegiate production,
it's like, I don't know what to do with him.
His skill set is very unique. He's a point forward because he's bringing the ball up for them, but he's, I don't know, like a fatter Cade Cunningham.
No, he's no point guard.
I know. Maybe a ground bound Bam Adebayo.
No,
because
Bam can get
block shot. That's why I said ground bound.
Yeah.
It's hard to point forward like him.
He's having a great season.
No, he's unbelievable. He's arguably the greatest high school resume ever. One thing coming into this season was this kid is the ultimate winner. And you've seen that with Duke. They're 14-1, and when they really shouldn't be.
No.
Because this team is not good. A lot of guys are failing to live up to expectations, except for this kid who's just exceeding everything. Going back to AJ. I mean, I love AJ's game. I think it's so pro, and that's why he went with Kevin Young besides the NIL situation. But Kevin Young's an NBA coach, and they have an NBA system. He's averaging 23-7. 4 assists a game, so they're very similar in that regard. I think AJ's done a good job coming out of high school, being more of a playmaker, because his pick and roll with Keba Keita is unstoppable. Against Clemson, I believe, in the Garden, they ran it 3 straight times, and it was 3 straight lob dunks for Keita. One thing about AJ that's very surprising to me is watching his high school tape. The 3-point rate is drastically different.
Yeah, he's not as polished there.
But I don't know if it's a polished thing or he's only taking 2.5 a game. Versus if you would have watched him at Utah Prep, you would have thought he would come in with Peterson level volume from 3.
Yeah,
because he would take hezzy pull in a defender's face all the time. So I wonder if that's Kevin Young being in his ear, like, hey, we want you're 6'9" and one of the most athletic guys on the court. You can get downhill. Prioritize getting downhill. Do not settle. Which obviously has been working out well for him. But I wonder, how's that going to translate to the next level? Because I would have coming into the season, for me, I'm like athletic shot maker.
yeah,
And now it's athletic downhill driver who just can't be stopped getting to the rim.
yeah. His mid range is lethal.
But I'm saying from
Yeah, no, I got you.
So that's an interesting.
And Boozer, on the other hand, has really sort of started to refine that 3.
Yeah,
If
he's
he
a great set shot. It's just off the dribble is tough.
If he can consistently knock down league average in the NBA from 3 on decent volume, there's a spot for him. I mean, there's a spot for him. There's a spot for him, but there's a defined role then. Then it's...
But I don't even think... we're talking about all this NBA comparison, and it doesn't really matter because I've full confidence that he's going to be a great player in the NBA, and he might just be one of those guys where it's like there is no comparison. He's just his own player. He's unique. I just don't think a guy with this high of a floor, who's this much of a contributor to winning, cannot be a great player in the NBA. And he doesn't. It's actually, I mean, I guess he does rely on his size a bit around the rim. So that I guess that is a concern how the size translates. But I don't think and that's stopping anyone from drafting him if the right team is there. I will say. He has such a heavy offensive load that the defensive effort hasn't been great the last few games. And like we've been saying, he's kind of ground bound, so he's only averaging 0.7 blocks a game, which isn't fantastic. But these are just minor things about these great players' games. But yeah, that's our top 10. You got anything else to add before we sign off?
No. We're all set.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please let us know in the comments who we missed. This is an unbelievably stacked class.
Yeah.
Compared to last year, there might have been like 2 players on last year's list that cracked this list. So there's tons of guys that are going under the radar that we're missing. Let us know in the comments down below who you think we should have put on our list. And thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode. Peace.